I want to tell you a love story today, not the kind that starts with butterflies and ends at the altar while everyone is so young and certain. The kind that starts at the altar twice, with decades of separate lives in between. The kind that proves something I have always believed but rarely seen demonstrated so completely. That real love does not expire, it waits. This is the story of Paul and Harvey, and by the time I am done telling it, I want you to understand something about commitment that most people only discover at the very end of a long life. Welcome back to YinkusPepe Talks, real talk, real life with clear eyes. If you're new here, my name is YinkusPepe, and this is the Story Files, where we tell real stories about real people, not to gossip, not to sensationalize, but because sometimes the most important truths about love and marriage can only be found in the specific details of how real people lived them. Today, I want to tell you about two people who did everything right, who loved each other well, who built beautiful lives, and who found each other on the other side of all of it. It was a small Canadian town in the 1950s, and Harvey was a teenage girl who had been walked home by a boy named Paul. That walk home was the first chapter of a story that will take 70 years to complete. They were young in the way that only teenagers can be young, completely certain of everything and completely unprepared for what life actually does to certainty. They liked each other in that specific first love way that leaves a mark on a person even after everything else has changed. Paul was the kind of boy who remembered. Harvey was the kind of girl he never forgot. But life moved as life does. They went their separate ways, not dramatically, not in heartbreak, simply in the ordinary way of young people whose paths diverge before they have the tools to hold them together. Paul went one direction, Harvey went another. They both eventually married. They both built lives, and for nearly 70 years, that is where the story appeared to end. What happened in the decades between their teenage goodbye and their reunion is not a footnote. It is the heart of the story. Paul married Helen. They were together for nearly 60 years. They built a family, 5 children. They navigated the seasons that every long marriage contains, the difficult ones and the extraordinary ones, and the long stretches of the ordinary that most people underestimate until they are gone. He was a faithful husband, a present father, a man who honored his vows completely. Harvey married too. She and her husband were together for 57 years, 5 children of their own, a life full and rich and genuinely loved. She was not waiting, she was living fully and gratefully the life she had built with her husband. Both of them were exactly what a spouse is supposed to be: present, committed, real. And then their spouses died. Paul lost Helen first. The grief of losing someone after nearly 60 years of shared life is its own specific kind of devastation. The absence of a person who has been the architecture of your daily existence for 6 decades cannot be described in a way that captures it fully. It simply has to be lived. 2 years later, Harvey's husband passed too. She heard about Paul's loss and she called him, not with romance in mind, with the specific compassion of a person who knew what that particular grief felt like. She called to say, "It gets better, slowly, but it does." And in that first conversation, which happened the day after Valentine's Day, something shifted. Harvey said later that she never expected to go further than that one call. But they talked, and then they talked again. Once a week became twice a week, became 3 times a week, became every day for hours. They talked about their children and their grandchildren, about the memories they had made in their separate lives, about the people they have loved and lost, about what it felt to be in their 80s with so much behind them and still something ahead. And somewhere in those hours of conversation, two people who had said a quiet teenage goodbye nearly 70 years earlier discovered that the person they were talking to was someone they recognized, not just from youth, from themselves. from the specific way that certain people fit together in a way that has nothing to do with timing or circumstance and everything to do with something that simply is. They had not been waiting for each other, they had been living fully, and yet here they were on the other side of all of it, still finding something real in the space between their voices. Paul was 81, Harvey was 81, and they were falling in love. When they finally met in person, the world they had built in their imaginations had to make room for the reality of two people who were no longer the teenagers they had been. They were now in their 80s. They had lived. Their bodies carried the history of all those decades. Their faces carried the specific wisdom of people who had been through enough to know what actually matters and what does not. And none of it mattered in the way they had perhaps feared it might, because what they had built in those phone calls was not a fantasy of who they used to be. It was a genuine knowledge of who they had become. They were not trying to return to something, they were choosing each other as the people they actually were right then and there at 81, with all of it behind them and whatever remained ahead. 3 days later, after reuniting in person, they knew they wanted to get married. 3 days. Their families were concerned, understandably so. Two people in their 80s who had just reconnected after nearly 70 years deciding to marry after 3 days together is not the kind of news that lands easily. Their children had questions. Their friends had questions. The speed of it looked from outside like the recklessness of people who should know better. But Paul and Harvey were not being reckless. They were being clear. The kind of clear that only comes from having lived long enough to know exactly what you were looking at when you see it. They had no time to waste on uncertainty. They were in their 80s. Paul was about to start treatment for stomach cancer. Harvey knew that too, and she chose him anyway. Not despite it, with full knowledge of it. She will be there through the good and the bad, no matter what that meant. On August 8th, they exchanged vows in front of family and friends at the small church in Ontario, Canada. The minister who officiated had conducted more than 500 weddings in his career. He said afterward that this one was the most moving and most profound service he had ever been part of. And in her vows, Harvey said something I have not been able to stop thinking about. She said to Paul, "You were the first young man to walk me home in my teens. I guess you will be the last man to walk me home." She was not talking about a teenage romance that never ended. She was talking about something that survived 70 years of separate living, 2 full marriages, 10 children between them, decades of joy and grief and ordinary days, and was still recognizable on the other side of all of it. She was not getting a second chance at first love. She was getting a first chance at the love that 2 complete people who had done everything right, who had done everything right, who had honored every commitment, who had loved faithfully and fully through everything life asked of them, could finally choose for themselves with all the wisdom that only 7 decades of living can produce. After the vows, Paul brought out his accordion and he played for her. The minister said there were tears in the eyes of everyone gathered, that you could not help but feel you were watching a real-life miracle. Not the naive emotionalism of young love, but the depths of lived experience. 2 people who had loved well, their whole lives choosing to love well one more time. I want to talk about what this story is actually saying, because it is not just a beautiful love story, though it is that. It is a statement about what love is and what commitment means. Both Paul and Harvey honored their first marriages completely. They did not spend 5 decades pinning. They did not hold their first love as a measuring stick that their spouses could never meet. They were fully present, fully committed, genuinely loving. They fulfilled every vow they ever made. And God had something waiting on the other side of all of that faithfulness. This is not a story about the one that got away. It is a story about 2 people who went exactly where they were supposed to go and did exactly what they were supposed to do and discovered at the end of it that the story was not finished yet. Young love is beautiful. It is also often chosen before people have enough information about themselves to know what they actually need. It is chosen in the specific blindness of youth, when everything feels permanent and nothing has yet been tested. The love Paul and Harvey chose was different. It was chosen with clear eyes by two people who had seen everything, grief and joy and loss and time, and still looked at each other and said yes. That yes is worth more than almost any other yes I have ever heard. To the person listening, I do not know where you are in your love story. Maybe you are young and just beginning and the whole thing feels impossibly open. Maybe you are in the middle of something hard and you cannot see your way to the other side. Maybe you have lost someone and the grief of it has made the future feel very small. I want to offer you this story as a specific kind of hope, not the hope that everything will work out the way you planned, but the hope that faithfulness produces something, that doing the right thing, honoring your commitments, loving the people in front of you, showing up fully for the life you actually have, these things are not wasted even when they are hard. Paul and Harvey did not get each other in their 20s, they got each other in their 80s. And they called it making up for lost time. They traveled, they built memories in a compressed and joyful rush. They chose each other every day with the specific intentionality of people who knew exactly how much time costs. They called it exactly what it was, a miracle. You were the first young man to walk me home in my teens. I guess you'll be the last man to walk me home. I have been thinking about that sentence for a long time. And what it means to walk someone home, about the specific tenderness of a love that begins with a teenage goodbye and ends with an 81-year-old woman choosing the same person on the other side of 70 years. About what it says about commitment, not just to a person, but to the act of loving well, consistently, faithfully, through everything. Paul and Harvey remind me of something I never want to forget. That love, real love, is not something you find once and keep. It is something you practice through every marriage you enter, through every vow you honor, through every ordinary day you show up for the person in front of you. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes the practicing of love produces something that looks like a miracle. Go home and love your people well today. All of them. The ones you chose and the ones who were given to you, because you do not know what is waiting on the other side of a life fully and faithfully lived. Thank you so much for watching and listening. If this conversation resonated with you, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe, and join the conversation in the comments below. And until next time, this is YinkusPepe.